So during COVID, they're starting to run out, depleting all of their fluorspar resources on the coastal region. And since last year, it was a very strategic mandate for China to start looking out for fluorspar. So there is a frenzy in global fluorspar land grabs in the last 12 months. And the price of fluorspar has gone up close to 50%. It's exactly as just mentioned, that China is turning to an importer of fluorspar rather than being an exporter.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Triangle Investor Interviews. I'm your host Lucian Valkovic, and before I announce my guest, just a quick reminder of a disclaimer. This interview and all my interviews are not a recommendation to buy or sell any shares, products or services. Always do your due diligence and consult with your financial advisor. My guest today is John Lee, CEO of CleanTech Vanadium Mining Corp. And we will talk about very interesting topic. It is related to uranium. It is fluorspar today. That is a critical element in uranium enrichment, but John will tell us more. John, welcome to the show.
Good to be back. We're going to do a uranium special today. Yes.
Yeah, a big chunk of my followers are really uranium followers, uranium investors. So let's start with the basic question. What is fluorspar?
Right. Fluorspar is the native form of materials that exists on Earth to extract fluorine. So the question really is then, what is fluorine? And it is the most corrosive element and one of the most reactive element in the periodic table. And it has been used for decades, and it is the most not so much toxic, but it has the highest strength of acid known to man.
Wow. I want to hear more about the global supply dynamics. Supply has been tightening globally, as I saw the reports with China shifting from a net exporter to a net importer since, I believe, 2022-2023 due to increased domestic demand and new projects. So my question to you, how do you see overall supply landscape evolving in this year and of course the years that are coming, 2026, 2027, particularly with new production capacities expected from regions like Africa and Mongolia?
Right, Lucian. Fluorspar is really a very special situation. That's why I sort of insisted on coming on your program and share with the audience. And it's warranted and deserves a look at maybe parting some of the gains from the silver and gold run-up recently. I got to know fluorspar when I was in China last year, exactly a year ago, when I was promoting the silver project. And all the Chinese are talking about is fluorspar. And they were effectively running out of fluorspar, where they used to mine fluorspar on the eastern Chinese coast in order to feed their uranium nuclear plants, and also a strategic vertical, which is the EV batteries, of which require fluorspar as fluorine as the electrolyte. So during COVID, they're starting to run out, depleting all of their fluorspar resources on the coastal region. And since last year, it was a very strategic mandate for China to start looking out for fluorspar. So there is a frenzy in global fluorspar land grabs in the last 12 months, and the price of fluorspar has gone up close to 50%. It's exactly as just mentioned, that China is turning to an importer of fluorspar rather than being an exporter. So the situation on fluorspar is actually more severe and acute than rare earth, of which China is also a dominant player, but China has over 100 years of rare earth materials. The global fluorspar production is only 10 million tons, of which China is 60%. Mongolia is 10%, followed by Mexico, who is 10%. So these three countries account for over 70% of the entire global fluorspar supply. And then if you look at the United States, it's only consuming about 500,000 tons of fluorspar today, almost entirely supplied by Mexico. Then if you think about it, if Donald Trump wants to become a energy independent, resource independent, industry independent country, it will need to have its own power plant, nuclear power plants, which require fluorspar. It needs to build its own battery plants for energy storage and for EV batteries. That's also need fluorspar. It's going to be producing aluminum and steel, and that's require fluorspar, fluorine as a fluxing agent. And it's going to need a lot more power. Oh, and the semiconductor industry of AI and TSMC, that's also need fluorspar for etching semiconductors. And if nuclear power is too slow to come on stream, it's going to need solar power and energy storage, and both also need fluorspar. In terms of energy storage, is for electrolyte, and in terms of solar plants, power plants, solar plants is need Teflon surface and also etching of silicon, optimizing the absorption. So in my view, United States right now is going to need 4 times as much fluorspar in the future versus what they're consuming today. But even at 4 times, that'll be 2 million tons, still be a third of what Chinese is consuming. So everybody is going after fluorspar, and Chinese and Mongolian have nothing to give, which means that the only game in town is the Mexicans. And that's why the Mexican fluorspar today is selling at a premium to the Chinese fluorspar intake. And so, before Chinese become a net importer, up to about 3 years ago, Mexicans were offering fluorspar to Americans at a $200 discount, up to 30% discount to market. So that gap has completely evaporated. So therefore, Lucia, I think your question is relevant, meaning that who is supplying fluorspar, but I think more to the point is who is buying fluorspar, and are they going to buy more or are they going to buy less?
That's a very good point. And when I was preparing for this interview, I saw a couple of things that really, frankly, I didn't know. That US, for example, US currently has no active fluorspar mine production, making it heavily reliant on, just like you said, on imports from Mexico, China. And by the way, fluorspar is listed as a critical metal by the US Department of Interior. That is very important to highlight here. So you have a project in Western Kentucky, right? Tell me more about this project and what are the plans over here? What is the production timeline? What are the longer term plans for this project?
Right. Lucian, if you just go to ChatGPT or Google or Gemini and say, where does Japanese buy their fluorspar? And the answer would be China and Mexico. And you say, where do the Koreans buy their fluorspar? And the answer would be China and Mexico. And they say, where does Germany buy their fluorspar for their nuclear plants? Right? And the answer is Mexico and China. So the Japanese need fluorspar for their semiconductors, for their nuclear plants. The Koreans need fluorspar for their EV batteries and for their semiconductors. United States need their fluorspar for aluminum steel making as a fluxing agent, EV batteries for the electrolyte, and nuclear enrichment for their nuclear power. And so, like the traditional guys like Trafigura and Glencore, they don't have any fluorspar. There is limited quantity of fluorspar coming from Africa, as you rightly noted, and China just struck a deal with Kenya, one of the largest fluorspar deposits. But the fluorspar is very particular in that when it goes into electrolyte and nuclear enrichment, it has to be a very specific fluorspar to be a very highly qualified and highly pure fluorspar, of which the African fluorspar is not up to par. And we know that through research. So that's just a point about research in terms of supply to the market. We're not seeing imminent flooding of fluorspar into the market. And now, before I talk about Kentucky, my first reaction coming from my trip in China a year ago when they were so crazy about fluorspar is, well, Mongolia, right? Mongolia is the third largest producer, and we have Silver Elephant has a project. We have a very long-standing Mongolia for more than 15 years, so I should be going after fluorspar in Mongolia. So I started that journey in December, 10 months ago. And what I found is all the fluorspars are gone by the Chinese, and they're commenting with such ferocious appetite. Literally, I was being told by my colleague and some friends who had fluorspar projects in Mongolia some are Mongolians and some are Americans, and they're telling me the Chinese descended down to Ulaanbaatar, and 3 day site visit, they're ready to write $1 million check. And for a modest size of fluorspar project, which is about a third of our size in Kentucky, they're bidding up to $20 to $30 million. So I was quite shocked when I found out that the American fluorspar is selling at a discount to Mongolian fluorspar. So I was scratching my head a little bit. However, though, history tends to repeat itself. It's happened before with lithium, where the Chinese and the Australians were bidding up lithium and Americans were completely oblivious. It's happened to vanadium before in 2017. It's happened to rare earth in 2016 when rare earth projects in the United States were going bankrupt. And sometimes this is the nature of the beast, right? Rare earth mining companies that was bankrupt 3 years ago now is trading at $10 billion market cap. And, that project's been recycled time and again. And what we're seeing in fluorspar market right now is literally right now, the CIF pricing in Europe is $750 a ton. The Mexican fluorspar is $550 a ton. The Chinese fluorspar is $530 a ton. And these prices were less than $400 before 2022, before the Chinese turned into the importer. And what the Chinese doing right now is Chinese is literally dictating the market because they are the biggest supplier and the biggest consumer. They are the elephant in the room by 70% because they in the Mongolian is 70+%. Nobody else besides the Mexicans. So what the Chinese is doing right now is they are just
stockpiling.
They're stockpiling, but they're just continue to jack in at the price on a monthly basis to get their supply. And they're now actively talking to the Africans, and the Japanese talking to the Australian. The Australian just putting $50 million in Australia fluorspar project at $200 million valuation. $200 million. Similar fluorspar size holding as CleanTech, which is $8 million right now. So right now the Chinese setting the price. There's no question about it. But the Chinese don't want to set at $1,000 ton, right? Because then they're shooting ourselves in the foot. So rather, they are steadily increasing the prices to get as much fluorspar, and when they couldn't get any more, then they will increase the price a little bit more. At the same time, they're trying to secure as much fluorspar projects in Africa as they can, but there's not a whole lot. But so certainly they don't want to be negotiating at $1,000 a ton versus $500 a ton. But the writing is on the wall, as I mentioned to you. The CIF pricing for fluorspar in Europe is $750, and the Mexican discount to the United States is completely evaporated. These projects in Kentucky used to be explored by Honeywell, which is a major nuclear, as you know, nuclear operation, and also by DuPont, which is a major chemical producers. But the exploration stopped in 2015 when Mexican offered a deal to good to reviews, which is 40% discount to market. So they say, oh, why do I need it, right? They're not expert in mining, so they left these assets alone. But now that discount is evaporated, and I'm going to a fluorspar conference in Italy, not far from where you are, next month. And
where? Which town?
You have over 100 participants, and there are 3 sellers. Lucia, this is the situation we're in, and that's why it's such a special situation. It reminds me of COVID back in March 2020, when there's like China's been turned upside down, and United States is, it's a flu, it's no big deal. But this is going to come on shore, and the timing could not be more succinct. And let me spend about 5 minutes talking about Kentucky. This Kentucky-Illinois region supplied 90% of the American fluorspar up till 1980, when the Chinese flooded fluorspar into the world. And it is the largest fluorspar belt in the United States. Over 30 million tons of fluorspar is being produced. And fluorspar production ceased in 1980. And that area We just paid out a site visit. It's like going back in time 30 years ago. It has not changed. Imagine the movies you see in the 1980s, the pickup trucks and the diners, the main street and where all the action is and the bars. And then it's still like it was 30 years ago. And our assets, we have over 8,000 acres and over 20 distinct deposits. They're all strategically located amongst critical mineral faults and trends. So we're already one of the largest player of fluorspar in that region, in this Kentucky, Illinois belt. If you were to equate the fluorspar area to say gold, it will be the Carlin, Battle Mountain region in Nevada. The area is well over 100 square miles, and we are 8,000 acres, and we're still continuing to grab. There is several million tons of fluorspar production in the past based on in our area, and we just paid the site visit. There is a lot. There's everywhere in our asset with tailings material, waste dumps, deserted shafts. There's like up to 50 meters, 100 meters, and our guy was poking the hole, poking their head into the shaft, and they can see fluorspar right down there. So we're going to be accelerating our development of fluorspar production, and we're also going to be continue our ramping up of additional acquisitions. This is the eye of the storm, and this is the Battle Mountain for gold for our fluorspar project. And it took us about a year to get to where we are, but in the last 2 months, and if you see our volume, we traded 25 million shares in 2 months in the summer days. And that's about 30% of our float. It's about 15% of our shares outstanding, about 30% of our float, because CleanTech came from Silver Elephant, spun out. So about 40% of our shares are kept by our Silver Elephant shareholders. So in just a quick summary, our plan is to acquire additional assets, but at the same time, we're gonna looking into accelerating our projects to production, given our just a astonishing site visit. Literally, we just came back in town 2 days ago.
Sounds exciting. Are there any specific partnership that you are considering, such as your recent royalty agreement with Oracle Commodity, or exploration plans that could help meet the rising demand?
Lucia, we have the project 8,000 acres, over 20 distinct deposits that are about 30 to 40 miles apart. So it is a massive district. These projects has historical resource of close to 10 million tons. So if you think United States burning about 500,000 tons a year, our holding is enough to supply the United States need for a decade or more to come. These assets had collectively over 740 drill holes. It is impossible, Lucien, in my lifetime, I'm 51, to put a number on how many, like the potential of what we have already. It's impossible. We can pick one project and farm out to the Japanese or the Koreans, and they're gonna have a field day for the next 5 years. Just one deposit. For example, the TAP deposit, which is one of our larger holdings, and it's closer to surface. The grades are a little lower, but it's a 17-kilometer strike. Honeywell optioned that project and gave up in 2015. They drilled 97 holes on just a teeny fraction of the project, and they estimated to have a resource of about close to 3 million tons on just a portion of the TAP project. But we have Babs, we have Eagle, we have Susie Wheeler, we have Big Four, we have Robinson Lasher, we have Campbell Crosser. We have so many. I don't even know we have just so much to do. But we're not stopping there.
And John, it's all 100% owned.
100% owned, optioned under CleanTech.
Options, yeah.
But we have payments close to about $5 to $6 million over 4 years. It's very heavily back-ended. So the first year payment collectively is about $350,000, $400,000. The next year will be the same, and then the payment will escalate. No royalties besides Oracle venture with us, and these mineral rights existed for hundreds of years. So this is not like Mali, right, or Burkina Faso, or like that's undergoing a lot of wreaking havoc, and also in parts of Bolivia. And so we really hit the jackpot, Lucien. Our vanadium project, of which CleanTech also owns 100%, We're doing exactly what we do with vanadium as we're doing for fluorspar. 21-kilometer stretch. It took us 5 years to assemble all the different places, all the assets together to form a contiguous mineral belt of a 21-kilometer strike. And what we own right now in fluorspar is also very similar. And what we're doing is exactly the same exercise: de-risking the project, connecting all the dots. And we're already in 2 months have a commanding position: 8,000 acres, 10 million tons of historical resource, 740 drill holes. We're controlling key mineral trends, all of them. There may be 15 trends. We're controlling majority of them, if not all of them. So right now at this point, either we're going to be a party spoiler of somebody, or somebody else is going to be a party spoiler for us, meaning that they might do some little checker square, right, of some area. But right now, we can almost say that all roads leads to CleanTech if somebody wanted to lay their eyes on fluorspar production in the United States. It's a phenomenal position we're in. And our market cap is $8 million. Insiders have been buying the shares left and right, including myself. And it is one of the best opportunities that I've seen in my lifetime of 20 years doing business in the mining industry. United States assets, proven mineral rights, historical drill holes, historical resources, 8,000 acres in the best mineral trend in the United States, maybe in the world, one of the top mineral trends in the world. In terms of partner, I want to emphasize that we are American-centric. We don't see right now the fluorspar going out of U.S. So we are in discussion with the electrolyte plants. So, you could be Tesla, could be Panasonic, anybody, LG. Remember that actually some talk about the Koreans getting arrested building a battery plant in the United States in North or South Carolina. These are all of our prime targets. You're going to need fluorspar. Every lithium battery, let me be a little bit clear, Lucian, I want to do a bit of chemistry 101. Every lithium battery, which is sodium batteries, whether it's energy storage or EV batteries, it requires 6 fluorspar. So it's hexafluorophosphate, lithium hexafluorophosphate, or sodium hexafluorophosphate. So every lithium and sodium needs 6 fluoride to stabilize and to carry the charges back and forth from the anode and cathode in the electrolyte. And every uranium, 235 and 238, require 6 fluorspar. So that's hexafluoride. To levitate, gasify uranium. I'm not sure if I'm sure your audience knows how uranium enrichment works. 235 is the fissile uranium, and 238 is the plutonium uranium. The fissile uranium, 235 is what you need. So what happens is when you get the U308 out of the ground, it's majority 99% is 238 and very small U235. You need to enrich that to 5% from 1%. The way you do that is you need to gasify, injecting HF fluorine gas into the uranium ore chamber. And then once you get the gasified uranium, because the fluorine is highly reactive, right? That's why I call it the Victoria's Secret model. Even the bookworm will react to it. That's why there's no replacement for fluorine in nuclear enrichment or thorium enrichment, any sort of nuclear enrichment. So once you get the gas, then you go through the centrifuge action. So you do the membrane diffusion. So then the U235 hexafluoride then gets separated from U238. Then you reconvert it back into U308. That is the yellow cake in the end. But you have to go through the fluorine phase. So that's and then same with the steel, aluminum, flexing agent. You need fluoride to provide that layer from oxidation and eating away impurities. And all the semiconductors, all the ASML machines has fluoride with argon gases, because you are etching all these semiconductors. Like 20 years ago, Lucien, your Motorola phone was 20 nanos, right? Now it's 3 nano. 3 nano is it's like a molecule. It's not even a molecule, it's atom level. And you need these exotic fluorine gases to etch these molecules onto your semiconductor wafers. So all this is fluorine. This is not going to go away. If fluorine doesn't exist today, the world will cease to function. And that's why I call fluorine it's like the Robin to the Batman. Kind of like rare earth before. This is an identical replay for rare earth. You know magnets, but you don't know rare earth. You know uranium, but you don't know fluorine. You know lithium matters, but you don't know fluorine. You know aluminum, you don't know fluorine. But all of that is encapsulated into the fluorine universe. And we're the third inning. I just cannot think of a better value proposition. It's really quite unbelievable.
Good explanation. Sounds really exciting. Agreed. Agreed totally. John, how is the news flow from the company will look going forward? Can you give me some color on, let's say, on the next 6 months?
We are continuing our acquisition trail. We have already acquired, we announced that we made 3 announcements so far: Campbell Crosser, Fraser package, and the Illinois package. We're looking at maybe announcing additional 2 to 3 additional acquisitions before year end. And then we're going to also be announcing some exploration plan, given we have so much fluorine tailings and waste materials on surface from historical mining. So we'll put together a plan on how we can bring this fluorine into production in the United States. Right now, there's next to zero production. And then there is a discussion with our 43101 authors about how we can bring all this millions of tons of fluorspar resources to 43101 compliant. The issue we have is our land mass package is so big. Our data room has got thousands of documents already. We continue to digitize these documents back from 100 years ago. And we don't even know how many technical reports we're going to have to produce because we've got so many assets. We are literally monopolizing the Battle Mountain region of Nevada versus fluorspar. And right now, there are only 2 fluorspar companies listed in North American Exchange. Our counterpart up here is a project in Utah. And it's not even compare apple to orange. It's now we're comparing like a fly to an elephant at this stage, given our resource holding. But they've been talking about going to production for 5 years, and the Utah is a nail compared to an elephant's foot. And so but yet we're about 1/7 of the market cap of elephant. And Lucien, I want to emphasize there's no skeleton in the closet. We still have $1 million in the bank, 100 million shares outstanding, 60 million shares are stashed away by insiders, 25 million shares already traded in July and August. That's almost 40% of our floating shares. No debt and no liabilities. Don't owe anybody anything. No lawsuits. We have a project in Nevada, vanadium. When vanadium was in heydays 7 years ago, just vanadium is worth $100 million market cap. And now we're 8 million.
Yeah, in the terms of permits and licenses for the exploration work, what do you need to secure next?
It's interesting. The precise answer is we don't know yet, because Kentucky has some coal production in the past and also some oil and gas production. There has not been a metal production in the last 30 years. That's been well, I don't want to say 30 years, but there's some zinc production on and off. To our understanding is these lands are in private lands. Majority of these licenses, I would say 95% of our mineral rights are in private lands. So we don't need input from the EPA or from the BLM, Bureau of Land Management. And we have to research a bit more in talking to Kentucky about their requirement to put mine into production. Our understanding is very, very minimal. So there are 3 things we're still trying to understand. One is, what does it take for us to start a drill program, to put a drill on the ground? And what does it take for us to start mining, both in underground and surface, and waste and tailings? And the third is, what does it take for us to build a flotation plant on the project, which is very similar to a silver plant. You do gravity separation, you do chemical flotation, and then you concentrate the fluorspar to metallurgical grade, which is 80%, or acid grade, which is 90 to 95%. Given Kentucky is a red state and is a traditional strong mining area, and it doesn't really have any other verticals like AI or hospitality or tourism or any other heavy industries or industrials, we feel pretty comfortable in putting mine in production. I don't think there's going to be much impediments or much issues in putting those mines back into production.
Yeah, just final question. How are they looking on ESG?
ESG, environmental sustainability and social responsibility. There's no Aboriginals, there's no First Nations, there's no tree huggers. We don't anticipate any problem. But right now, our mode is additional acquisitions. These kind of opportunities really come once in a lifetime. We're talking about definitive mineral rights that existed for hundreds of years. And we're talking about a historical district that produced 90% of fluorspar in the United States. I mean, these kind of rights, Lucia, once you secure, we cement a strong foothold in this district that's not going to go away. And in the end, we're gonna joint venture and partner with the uranium, nuclear operators in the United States, aluminum and steel operators, and the chemical producers, refrigerant producers, the Teflon producers. There's only maybe 5 to 7 really consumers that really count in the United States, and that is going to be our exciting venture starting the end of the year towards next year. And we'll not be surprised on any sort of MOU or long-term strategic non-binding offtake agreement that evolves into binding as the project gets developed further down the road.
Okay, John, and I wish you luck with this project going forward. That was John Lee, CEO of CleanTech Vanadium Mining Corp. John, thank you very much for coming to my show.
Let me give it just a minute. People are sweating about uranium, running out of uranium, and looking at thorium alternatives. And I do a bit of a research on Matt Farrell, right, and decided the world's going to be running out of fluorspar faster as running out of uranium. So it really presents an incredible opportunity, especially for your uranium audience that has done their homework. So check us out, CleanTech CTV. We have put up a number of educational video shorts and videos on our website. You just go to YouTube, you can search for them. And we're always available. You can look me up, just go to John Lee, CleanTech CTV, and shoot me a hello or email me, JLEE@cleantechcv.com. I invite your audience to come along for the ride. It's going to be such an incredible opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. And okay, you're going to be above the crowd because the people we talk to are, is fluorspar a fertilizer? The answer is yes. But this is not where the key stands. This is the uranium renaissance that needing fluorspar. This is the electrification of the world requiring fluorspar. Lucien?
Got it. We will leave the link on your website as well in the description of the video. Thank you very much.
Thank you.